In today's competitive global business environment, we are seeing that 20% of business startups fail annually. We see 50% fail by year five, and only 10% survive after the 10-year life cycle. So, as we begin to see these statistics, we begin to ask ourselves if there's a smarter way of doing business. And by we, I mean Pitch Deck 101 LLC, Global Capital Inc., and 10X B&M LLC out of New York. And what we have learned is that there is indeed a smarter way to do business. With that being said, we now introduce the concept that we call master your minimum viable offer. And in today's program, we will examine the tremendous benefits that learning, applying, and mastering the minimum viable offer, what it can do to help you grow and scale your business. But just before we get into today's program, I also want to spend some time to outline some of the benefits of learning, applying, and mastering the MVO, your minimum viable offer. Now, the minimum viable offer and mastering your minimum viable offer enables you to reduce the cost of doing business. And this should be music to your ears because there's a high cost to do your business. And very often, many rising stars in business struggle to raise the much needed capital to move their vision forward. And here is where we are saying that when you learn, apply, and master the minimum viable offer, you're now able to reduce the cost of doing business. To learn, apply, and master your MVO will also enable you to reduce the time in what you're doing. And to manage your time, to save time, can also give you an opportunity to further increase your business potential to grow and cash flow. The minimum viable offer also helps in reducing the stress level. Because, yes, doing business can be very stressful. Business has its high points and business has their low points. And what this tool does, it really gives you the information that allows you to reduce the stress level of doing business. The MVU also enables you to enter into the market with greater ease and significantly optimize your visibility. So, this is a very unique program, and I encourage you to take the notes as we go through this program. And beyond taking the note, be prepared to apply these concepts to your business so your business can grow and expand and achieve the business and financial objectives. This program, again, when you learn, apply, and master the MVO, is going to put you in a position to significantly increase your business potential to cash flow. Last but not least, this program will also significantly increase the success rate of your business. So, for the international students who are listening or viewing these programs, I welcome you into today's program. And today we will be covering the new concept that we call Master Your MVO. This concept is also taken from our most recent book, which is titled Master the Sales Communication Process. So if you have not already received the copy of this book, I want to encourage you to go to our website where you will be able to get a copy of this book, Master the Sales Communication Process. We have 3 volumes out today. We have volume 1, 2, and 3. So when you go to website, pitch deck in the center 101.com, and you go to shop, you can now go to books. You will see all the books there on display. You owe it to yourself to get a copy of this book. Now, let's get into today's program. In today's program, we're going to be covering a number of topics. We will be looking at a true definition of your minimum viable offer, the MVO. We will be looking at best practices in applying the MVO. We'll be looking at benefits of the MVO, minimum viable offer, and we will also be having a call to action at the end of this program. So I encourage you to stay, enjoy this program, because at the end of this program, for those new students that we're going to be appealing to, we're going to have a massive giveaway. So I do encourage you to settle in, get your pens, your paper, and let's go through this mini masterclass on your MVO, your minimum viable offer. Now, what comes to mind when you hear the term your minimum viable offer? Now, in this context, we are referring to a concept that we call the 1 in 10 factor of brand selection. Now, why do we call it the 1 in 10 factor of brand selection? We're seeing that many rising stars in business, in going to market, you have 5 or 10 great ideas, and you're going to market with all of these ideas simultaneously. Now, what happens when you do this? When you do this, it makes demand for capital. There's an increased demand for capital. There's an increased demand for human resources. There's an increased demand for technical resources. And as a rising star in business, in most cases, you do not have the resources to move 10 value offers simultaneously to the market. So this by default sets you up to undermine the success of your business ideas. So to help you to reverse the failure rate in this regard, based on research, we are now proposing the 1 in 10 factor of selection. Now, what a 1 in 10 factor of selection means that you are identifying one value offer, one MVO. So your MVO can represent a complementary offer, a supplementary offer, or a premium brand. Now, a premium brand means that you're targeting high net worth, super high net worth individual with your value offer. This complementary and supplementary brand, meaning that you stay in the middle ground in terms of your value offer. Now, whichever one you're using to enter the market, you want to make a conscious and educated decision that this is the one. This is the one. And as you identify the one, it's important that you ensure that you have adequate market data that can really help you to drive the one to where it ought to be. All right. You want to ensure that you have the kind of market intelligence that you are collecting, you're analyzing, and you're applying to optimize the success of the MVO. In today's program, we're going to go into all of that to really help you to understand how to go to market with your MVO, how to scale your MVO, how to make impact, optimize client conversion, and cash flow optimize your business. So the first concept that we have looked at here is the 1 in 10 factor of selection, the 1 in 10 factor of brand selection. Go to market with one and work that one until you achieve the objective. Now, I also want to do a disclaimer. We are not saying to you, don't ever go at your 5 projects. Don't ever go at your 10 projects. But what we are saying is work the one until the one attain brand visibility, reach, impact, client conversion, cash flow optimization, confidence, trust, and credibility. At this particular stage, the business is going to be doing well. It's going to be cash flowing. And you will now be able to take the excess liquidity to leverage that into bringing out the new brands that the business has. So that's a disclaimer. Now, let's go into some other definition of what your MVO may represent. Now, your MVO can also represent a product, it can represent a service, or it can represent a progressive ideas. People are able to sell you on their ideas, and it's important for you to understand the significance of this. So the MVO can fit into these categories. Now, the MVO can also represent your minimum viable offer, your most viable offer, and your maximum viable offer. And we have briefly explained all of this in the intro. Now, the minimum means that you're going to market with your lowest value product. The most value product, which we call the minimum and most value offer, means that you're going to market with your premium brand. The maximum now means that you're going to market with the 10 and 10 value offer. And here is where we see many businesses starts to get choked up because you are not able to manage the 10 and 10 factors of brand integration into the market. All right. It requires human resources, technical resources, and capital resources to move all 10 of your value offer simultaneously. So it's important to have this concept. Now, let me give an example of what I'm talking about here. Now, let us take, for example, that you are in the financial service industry. And as a specialist in the financial service industry, but you don't have enough human resources, technical resources, and capital resources, you're offering services that represents debt capital, equity capital, credit capital, creative financing, and hard money lending. And you have a ton of persons who are knocking at your door to get your service. It's practically impossible for you to effectively deliver high quality of service consistently above and beyond the expectation of the ideal client, being as small as you are. You don't have enough human resources, technical resources, and capital resources to move that process forward. As we go into this, you need capital for advertising. You need capital to cover overhead expenses, operational expenses, administrative expenses. At the initial stage, you don't have the wherewithal to be able to sustain, this broad spectrum of financial services. So what is recommended using the MVO, your minimum viable offer, is to select one area. Perhaps the area that you are selecting may be credit card management, because again, when you're driven by data, data will show you that we have millions of Americans, billions of Americans who are getting into debt with credit card, and they need support to be able to manage this platform. And let me give you some statistics. In the United States of America alone, we are seeing over 90 million persons that are taking credit card debt and other types of debt who need support in managing that debt portfolio. And the challenges spring from the fact that you have a statement, and many persons are not able to read the statement with the degree of clarity that they should have. Meaning that in the statement, you're going to have things like billing cycle, you're going to have things like open and close date. These are some essential parts of the statement that you need to know to become an educated consumer of credit cards. We know this because we interface with persons in this field ever so often. Now, failing to know this, it means that you don't know when to start spending your line of credit, and you don't know when to stop spending your line of credit. So because of this, when Equifax, Experience, and TransUnion take that sneak peek into your credit profile, they're going to be seeing bad utilization. They're going to be seeing overutilization. They're going to be seeing late payment. They're going to be seeing, and that creates derogatories. And that's going to undermine your ability to manage your portfolio. So, this again is one of the reasons why we're saying you, as a specialist, applying the MVO, you are taking all of this data and you are analyzing the data, and then you leveraging this data to develop your MVO. And this is what's going to really help you to win, because developing your MVO is not just wishfully coming up with a minimum viable offer. And we will talk about it today. As you develop your MVO, it should be based on data. All right. Starting a business and scaling a business is not about the emotion. It's about the information that you have that is helping you to make informed and educated decision about your value offer. Many young rising stars in business, you make an emotional decision to start a business, and then you recognize that the emotional decision is not paying you the dividend that you had expected it to pay. And that is so because you do not have all of the information in terms of doing business. In today's program, I will give you a lot of information that will help you to better understand the best practices in starting a business, the best practices in developing your MVO, and the best practices that you can use to accelerate business growth, make impact with your ideal client, and cash flow optimize so you can smile all the way to the bank. So it's important for you to understand these concepts that we're talking about. So instead of going to the market with your MVO, and your MVO is representing your maximum offer, you want it to represent your minimum offer. You take the time to understand your one MVO, how it aligns to the ideal client, what are those pain points of the ideal client. You do all the other assessment if it's viable, if they're accessible, before you actually develop that MVO. We will talk about that shortly. So these is some of the definitions of the MVO, and it's important for you to note. When you learn, apply, and master this system, it will help you to achieve all of the above that I have just spoken about. One is going to help you to reduce the cost of doing business. Two is going to help you to save time. Three is going to help you to reduce your stress level in doing business. Doing business has its high points and low points, and you need to know how to reduce your stress. The right information is going to help you to do that. This also will help you to enter the market much faster and optimize your brand visibility. The MVO will also help you to increase the business cash flow and at the same time significantly optimize the business potential to be sustainable. The fact is that we said early on, 20% of business startups fail in the first year, 50% fail by year 5, and only 10% survive after the 10-year life cycle. Now, if you use these approaches we are recommending to you, you stand a much better chance to get into business, stay in business, scale, and optimize your business success story. Now, I trust that this information so far is helping you. Now, I want to go deeper into how we're going to apply this body of knowledge. The application of this body of knowledge is so important. Now, to apply the MVO and to apply it effectively, you need data. You need to collect sensitive data, analyze sensitive data, and leverage sensitive data. And we call this market research. Now, as you do market research, it will enable you to do the stress tests of your MVO. And I just spoke about this early on. Now, how do you do the stress test of your MVO? And this, let me explain this again. There are many rising stars that are getting into business and they're making an emotional decision in getting into business. You have not done the stress test. So you don't know who's your ideal client. You don't know the size of your market. You don't know the viability of the market. You don't know how to access your market. You don't know if there is urgency and immediacy with your MVO. You don't know if there is, you know, the ability and willingness to invest in your products. And we're going to go into all of this today. So when you're stress testing your MVO, you are really asking the right questions, ensuring you get the right answers so you can make an informed and educated decision about the best steps and best practices that you can adopt and apply to optimize the success rate of your business. And you cannot do any of this without data. If you don't have this body of knowledge, it simply means that you are doing business with a blindfold over your eyes. And that's not the way you want to be doing business. You want to do business from a standpoint where you have information. So research is vital to this process. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into an examination of research. So as to ensure that you have a better understanding of what it is that you should be doing when you're applying the minimum viable offer, the most viable offer, to make the highest degree of impact on your MVTM, your minimum viable target market, or your most viable target market. Now, as we look at market research and data analytics, several things comes to mind based on what we've seen in the market. Surprisingly, we had to coin a concept that we call speculative data analytics. And what exactly do we mean by speculative data analytics? We have coined this term because we see speculation is being used as an expert opinion. Yes, speculation is being used as an expert opinion to drive business decisions. And this again is one of the reasons why we see 20% of business startups fail, 50% of business startups fail by year 5, and only 10% of businesses survive after the 10-year life cycle. Now, this in itself is worrying. It is worrying from the standpoint that a lot of businesses that are receiving funding from private equity investors put the investment portfolio at risk. And why should I be looking at this? And why do we want to, positively impact this? And let me explain. When businesses use speculative data, it means that you're doing business with a blindfold over your eyes. It means that you don't have information. So everyone involved with you and your business, they're exposed. So you have private equity investors that are coming alongside you to provide capital. Where are they taking capital from? They're taking capital from sovereign wealth funds. It means that countries that are doing well and are allocating their capital to global intermediary or boutique intermediary, um, private equity investors are now able to access those funding that they're now putting into your business. But when you use speculative data, it undermines your chance of being successful, which means that the private equity investors who are investing with you, guess what? They're exposed because there's no guarantee that your business is going to cash flow optimize. So you put sovereign wealth funds at risk, you put pension funds at risk, you put insurance funds at risk, you put high net worth individual at risk, you put super high net worth individual capital at risk, you put university endowment at risk because private equity investors, they are pulling capital from all of these financial resources to help you in business. So my recommendation is that you owe it to yourself to ensure that you are leveraging data, you're collecting sensitive data, analyzing sensitive data, and applying sensitive data in the right way to reduce the risk associated with doing business. So you can smile all the way to the bank. Your private equity investor can smile all the way to the bank. The boutique and global intermediaries can be happy, and their investors can be happy. So again, we have developed these programs because of the fact of some of the challenges that we are seeing, and the solution that we are now tabling can play a significant role in reversing this process. The more data you have is better for you. So let's get a little bit more into speculative data. Speculative data analytics means that you're using speculation as an expert opinion. You have zero targeted performance outcome because there's no data. And you might see the advantage in this. The advantage is that you can speculate from anywhere in the world. All right. But the disadvantage of this is that it can hurt all of the stakeholders that are with you. And that's the last thing that you want, because that is literally working yourself out of business. So my advice is to step away from applying speculative data analysis and using this as an expert opinion to make business decisions. So the next element of data analytics is what we can call secondary data analytics. Now, secondary data analytics has advantages and disadvantages. And why so? Because secondary data exists on two spectrums. Now, you're able to get secondary data from census returns, from archives, and you find that sometimes data that is stored may be outdated. And when you are using data that is outdated, this too can cause you money, stress, and sleepless nights. And as a rising star in business, you also want to be certain that you are collecting sensitive data, analyzing sensitive data, and leveraging sensitive data that is congruent with the objective that you want to achieve. So it's important for you, as you collect data, analyze data, that you be certain that the data is up to date. Now, data based on social and economic realities can change slow, or it can change in a flash. For example, population growth can change if there's inconsistencies in economic systems very quickly. We have seen what happened in Manhattan during the pandemic. We have seen persons who had job security, who had income security. They were living the quality life. And when job security was affected and income security was affected, they now wasn't able to offset their standard living expenses. So they had to rethink, retool, and reapply themselves and adjust their entire lifestyle. So that at that particular time would have reduced the population size in Manhattan. So if you were thinking to target Manhattan based on population size, you would have been in for a surprise if you don't have accurate data. So having the data is so important as you start to think of creative, innovative approaches to optimize the success of your MVO. It is so, so important. So secondary data can be reliable, meaning that the data is up to date. You need to be certain of this. And reliable or secondary data can be outdated. So when you use secondary data that is outdated, it's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you stress, and it will cost you sleepless nights. Sleepless nights. And that's definitely not something that you want as a rising star in business. So the ability to effectively apply the MVO, your minimum viable offer, means that you have this body of knowledge. You understand these organisms that is going to complement you and your MVO to make the strongest impact in the market. It's important. Now, the next type of research that we talk about is what we call the primary data analytics. Now, what primary data analytics allows you to do, there's advantages and disadvantages here too. Now, primary data allows you to interface directly with potential consumers. This is a tremendous advantage because here is where you're going to the ground with your MVO and you're doing the stress test. You identify the unique features of your MVO and you're engaging with potential consumers, educating them on the features, the traits of the MVO. And once you have the right salespersons to communicate this information clearly and effectively to the ideal client, you're likely to get conversion even before you introduce the product to the market. All right. You're likely to get subscribers. And these are some of the advantages in doing the primary market research, primary data analytics. But primary market research also have disadvantages. For example, it can be capital intensive because you may have to put together a team of 100 or 500 person or 1,000 persons that you are using to go to market to help you to collect the much needed information that you need to make informed and educated business decision that is going to drive the longevity of your business. So there's going to be capital intensive. I would always say the cost justifies the end results because with the research, you're now able to remove that blindfold from over your eyes and you're now able to make informed and educated decision, effectively utilizing your prefrontal cortex in that business decision-making process. Now, in terms of applying primary market research, there are cost-effective means of doing this. There's a whole lot of creative approaches that can be used to help you to collect sensitive data, analyze sensitive data, and leverage sensitive data we call primary market research. All right? They are creative approaches. So I want you to also consider that. Now, why is it important to be doing this type of research? I want to go deeper into this because this is fundamental. This is ground zero for rising stars in business to achieve the business and cash flow objectives behind your business. You want to have these type of information that we're talking about. It is the absence of this information that is going to cause you to fail in business. Again, we see 20% of business startups fail in the first year, 50% fail by year 5, and only 10% survive after the 10-year life cycle. You don't have data. You're not collecting sensitive data. You're not analyzing sensitive data. You're not leveraging sensitive data to help you to make the smart and best decision when it comes to growing and scaling your business. And because you don't have the information, your business by default will be undermined. So let's talk about this a little bit more. So the reason you're leveraging secondary reliable data or primary data is because you want to collect information about your ideal client. And what is the specific type of information that you are attempting to collect here about your ideal client? Now, there's three particular categories of information that you need. You need one, the demographic biodata markers. You want to do a demographic data biomarker analytics. Forgive me with the long term, but this means that you want to understand your target market based on demographic. Now, what exactly does this mean? It means that you understand your target market based on age. You understand your target market based on race. You understand your target market based on ethnicity. You understand your target market based on gender. You understand your target market based on marital status. You understand your target market based on income. You understand your target market based on education. And you understand your target market based on employment status. Now, this is a lot of information, but again, if you don't have this type of information, or if you're being scared by what I'm saying, again, by default, this is the reason why so many businesses fail, because you're not taking the time to get the sensitive data about your ideal client that is helping you to make informed and educated business decisions. You owe it to yourself to take the time to understand these factors that are going to be influencing the sales outcome. If you don't have this information, again, you're doing business with a blindfold over your eyes. The objective of Pitch Deck 101 Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branding and Marketing LLC out of New York is to ensure that we play a role to give you the kind of information that you need to make smart business decision, smart investment decision. So understanding this demographic data is vital. So the reason you're doing research, because this is the information that you need. With this type of information, you are now able to target your ideal client with clinical precision. And because you're now able to target the ideal client with clinical precision, this is what's going to significantly increase your opportunity to connect with the ideal client, to make impact with the ideal client, to convert the ideal client, not into a one-time sale, but possibly a lifetime consumers. This now is going to help you to build confidence, trust, and credibility in the minds of the ideal client. And this is what makes doing business exciting. Data. So to understand the minimum viable offer, your MVO, is not just to say, this is my MVO, is to take the time to understand how all of these alignments are taking place. Yes, it may sound like tough work, but if you want to be successful in business, it's about being tough. Now, if you are not a tough person to take in all of these data, ensure that someone at your strategic, tactical, and operational team have this kind of knowledge, or you're exposing them to these type of information so they can come and bring it back to your organization to drive your business success. It is vital. Without this information, your business by default is set to fail. It is set to fail. And that's the last thing that you want to have happen in business. This is the last thing that you want when you go into the market and reaching out to private equity investors and reaching out to, financial service industry. You're begging for help, but then you don't have the right information. This type of information is what's going to help your business to be fundable, because you understand your market, you understand your financial, you understand the process of doing business to move your success story forward. So the next data analytics that I want us to look at is what we're going to call the psychographic biodata markers. And what exactly is the psychographic biodata markers? Without the psychographic biodata markers, you really don't know your ideal client. You're only speculating. And we said before that speculation can hurt your entire support value chain. It can hurt the entire support value chain. So What exactly do I mean by that term psychographics? These are data that you need to collect, analyze, and leverage to the advantage of the business. So, in terms of looking at psychographic biodata markers, you're looking at things like your ideal client lifestyle. People make purchasing decisions based on lifestyle. People make purchasing decisions based on culture. People make purchasing decisions based on social class. People make purchasing decisions based on reference groups, groups and reference groups. People make purchasing decisions based on personality types. Are you taking the time to understand all of these variables that are influencing the sales outcome? In the absence of you having this body of knowledge, collecting this body of knowledge, analyzing this body of knowledge, using this body of knowledge to make informed and educated business decision, it means you don't understand your target market. You're doing business with a blindfold over your eyes. And again, you will be contributing to the statistics of 20% of business failing annually, 50% of businesses failing every 5 years, and only 10% surviving after the 10 year. And if you do this, you will be among the 10% and you will help to increase the number of businesses that survives after the 10-year cycle. You need data. You need to be able to analyze data, or someone in your strategic, tactical, and operational team should have this body of knowledge to help you to analyze, collect, analyze, and apply this data to make informed and educated business decisions. It's necessary. You want to understand, your target market interests. You want to understand your target market activities. You want to understand your target market belief system. All of this play a tremendous role in influencing their purchasing decisions. So when we talk about your MVO, your minimum viable offer, how do you know that your offer is viable if you don't have these type of information that we are talking about? You're assuming, you're speculating, you're doing business with that blindfold over your eyes. That's why you're going to be unsuccessful. You need data. Minimum viable offer. How do you know your offer is viable? We're going to go deeper into this as we go into further into today's program. The last data analytics points that I want to talk about today is what we call the geographic biodata markers. Now, this is important. It's so important. And what did geo bio, geo bio, biodata markers talk about is things like your consumer's location, regionally, nationally, and internationally. Now, this might sound trivial to the average person, but I want you to think about this. The research is also showing that many rising stars in business is not taking the time to understand the specific geographical location of the ideal client. You're getting into business because you're making an emotional decision. You're starting that business and then you start to figure things out. And when private equity investors recognize where you're at, you haven't figured things out, and they choose not to give you capital, you call yourself the most unlucky person in the world. And you don't have the data. So, understanding this concept, why you're using market research, is going to help you to achieve a tremendous competitive advantage in how you do business. And we are here to help you through this process of optimizing your success. So I trust that you had a lot to take away there in terms of what the MVO is and how you apply the MVO in the collection of sensitive data about the ideal client. Now, let me go one step further. The reason you've done the research is because you want to align your MVO to your MVTM. The MVO is your minimum viable offer. The MVTM is your minimum or most viable target market. How does the alignment take place? The alignment doesn't take place unless you have research. And that's why we talk about the research. I went so deep into the importance of collecting sensitive data, analyzing sensitive data, and leveraging sensitive data. That alignment does not take place unless you have this body of knowledge and you want the alignment to take place. The MVO, your minimum viable offer, must be aligned to your MVTM, your minimum or most viable target market. The reason you're going to be doing research again, let me break all of this down, is because you're looking at your MVO now that the alignment is taking place, and you're asking yourself, what is the size of my market? Why is it important to know the size of your market? If you don't know the size of your market, you really don't know the potential of the market to cash flow. So when a private equity investor is going to say to you, what is your financials? Tell us about, the market realities. You need to say that the market size is this, the cash flow potential of this market is this. I only want 5% of the market to have a viable and successful business that is generating perhaps billions of dollars, because you understand your financials from the market size, from the market density, from the market dispersion. So if you don't have data, you're not in a position of strength to make educated and informed business decisions. And that again is why so many businesses are failing, because you think you understand business, but you're now beginning to scratch the surface. You see all of this as heavy lifting. Now, if you're in business and you don't want to do the heavy lifting, you can delegate the responsibility. That's the smart thing to do. Delegate the responsibilities out. At least you know you're doing the right thing. At least you know you're taking the step in the right direction to guarantee the success of your business, because you have data. Now, we spoke about this in the brief earlier. Your MVO must establish if it is reaching an urgent or immediate need. Now, how do you know if your minimum or most viable offer is reaching an urgent or an immediate need? How do you know this? You're going to speculate your way into knowing this? Speculation is not going to work. Speculation is going to cause you to shoot yourself in the leg. Speculation is going to cause you stress and sleepless nights. Speculation is going to cost you massive amount of monies. It's going to hurt your investors. The entire chain is going to be affected when you make these speculative decisions. How do you know if your MVO is reaching an urgent and immediate need? Again, you need data. This is why we are talking about collecting sensitive data, analyzing sensitive data, leveraging sensitive data that is now enabling you to make informed and educated business decisions. You need the data. Now, if you don't have this type of information, connect with a consultancy firm that can help you make better business decisions. Now, why are we talking about the data? Let's look at another concept. Your MVO, your minimum viable offer, should be, the consumers should have easy access, and you should also have easy access to your target market. And we talked about this early on in the geographic data. So you develop an MVO, but what's your market size? You don't know. What is the geographical location of your ideal client? You don't know. So if you don't know this, how are you accessing your ideal client? Every day we interface with rising stars in business that just do not know how to reach the ideal client. So if you can reach the ideal client, it means you don't have easy access. And if you don't have easy access, it is tremendously difficult, if not impossible, to position your MVO in front of your ideal client so as to inspire them to make a purchasing decision. And because you're now unable to do this because you didn't pause to use data to understand how to access your ideal client, the vision is on the mind. Your investors are hurt. The entire chain is affected because of a decision you choose not to make. So understanding your MVO and how MVO is using data to inform the business decision process, it is unavoidable. You want to be able to leverage this body of knowledge to make the best business decision possible in the interest of the collective stakeholders. Another reason why we're going to talk about the MVO research is because in getting into business, and you want to know this before you even innovate your MVO, your minimum viable offer, you want to know if the ideal client has the ability and the willingness to pay for your products and your services. And how do you know this? We talked early on about demographic data. We look at employment status. We look at income position. And you're using all of this data to assess if your ideal client fits in the category that they should be in to have the ability to pay. And when we look at psychographics, you know if they're going to be willing to pay. So you need data to drive your business decision process. So if you're not collecting sensitive data, analyzing sensitive data, and leveraging sensitive data, by default, your business will struggle, if not fail. So at every step of the game, you need to be certain that you're adopting the best practices as you build out your minimum or most viable offer to reach the expectation of your minimum or most viable target market. You need data. This is what's going to position you to win in business. And all the advantages that we talk about above, all right, when you apply these techniques that we're talking about, as I said at the beginning, it's going to help you to reduce the cost of doing business when you understand the smart way of doing things. It's going to help you to save a lot of time. It's going to help you to reduce your stress level. It's going to help you to enter the market with greater ease and increase your visibility. It's going to help you to increase the business cash flow. And last but not least, it's going to help you to significantly build a business, build a brand that is sustainable for the long term because you have data. You have the right information. Now, these are important concepts that I want you to pause and truly think about. And I want to get into this because early on I did that disclaimer and I said that as you optimize the strength of your MVO and you're able to move it through the process where it has confidence, trust, and credibility, you now introduce a second product, a second value offer, because you now have human resources that you can spend on, technical resources that you can invest in, and you have capital resources to navigate the world of doing business. You need capital. But I want to also emphasize something here. Embarking on your MVO does not necessarily mean that it's only one thing that you're doing. Your MVO can also have multiple income potential. And I want to show this because I want to debunk any idea that one is being weak. One is insignificant. The 1 in 10 factor of brand selection is insignificant. It is very significant when you know what you're doing. Now, let's look at this example. So, you are in the financial service industry or the business consultant industry, and you provide consultancy services. Whether it be business consultancy services or you're providing financial consultancy services. Now, that's one area of income because people are paying you for their time. They're paying you for your advice, your knowledge, your information to help them to navigate the process. Now, let's call everything that I've just talked about consultancy services. I'm going to be paid for that. But is that the only source of income from my MVO? Is it? It's certainly not. So let's look at it in this way now. Because there are multiple streams of income by applying the MVO. So see yourself as a financial service industry specialist. You've spent quite a years practicing your craft. You have the receipts to show because you are touched and transforming the lives of people with what you're doing. So you have been successful in this part. So now you decide to become an author. You're going to write your first book, and you're going to be using your book as your business card. You're going to be using your book to knock on doors and to open new doors and to significantly increase your visibility. So now you have a book. So you have your consultancy services that is generating income. You have your book that is generating income. And guess what? You're doing more than just having a book. Because you're a specialist in your field, you're a big thinker in your field, you are what we call the global thinker, the social actor, and the transformational leader in your field. You're now planning what we call book sales and world tours. Why have a book and you're not thinking like this? You're not thinking to go across your country. All right, connecting with chambers of commerce, trade association, the SBA, Small Business Association. You're connecting with all of the entities that is relevant, that you can add relevance to. You're traveling the country. And when you exhaust traveling the country, because you're a big thinker, you're now going to other parts of the developed world, other parts of developing economy to get your brand out there. So all of this becomes secondary sources of income by doing the very one thing. It's just how you look at it. It's perspective. It's having the right frame of mind, the right perspective. So there's no harm in applying a 1 in 10 factor of brand selection. It is all about your frame of reference. So you have the book tours, but you also have professional training and management groups. You have professional training and mastermind groups. Now, what this means, you have your consultancy training, you have the book tours, you also have lectures that you can conduct, and you're being paid again. You have mastermind groups, perhaps you're reaching once a month, and you are pouring information into people as to how to apply your system. In my case, it's the minimum viable offer. So there are multiple streams of income that you can generate with this process. So don't ever let anyone fool you to tell you have to do 10 programs at the same time. You need to have plan B and C. So if plan A doesn't work, you have plan B and C. In most cases, what we are seeing is that plan B and C cancel out plan A because you're not putting enough energy into plan A. Now, again, I want to emphasize this and re-emphasize this. If you have the right plan A based on data, plan A will work. You want to know your MVO is relevant to your ideal client. You want to know that you can access your ideal client. You want to know that your ideal client, you're reaching an urgent and immediate need of the ideal client. You want to know that the ideal client has the ability and willingness to pay for your products and services. If plan A represents all of this, you don't necessarily need to go to all the other plans, because plan A can be grown to become a multi-billion-dollar organization when you know what you're doing, when you have data to inform the business decision-making process. You can also develop digital products and online training. Now, with digital products and online training, you don't have to be there to conduct the training. It has all been digitized. It's online. So someone log into your, social media frame, they pay the cost to get your program, they go, they listen to it, they take out information, and voila, you're making money when you sleep. Another source of income. So it's about your frame of mind, your frame of reference, that you need to have super control over when it comes to growing and scaling your business. You can also become a public speaker, a paid lecturer. All right. So as you go on your global book tour, perhaps you're doing killing two birds with one stone, because you're doing public speaking in your area of specialty and you have your books. So you're making money from the door entry and you're making money from the sale of books, multiple streams of income by doing one thing. One thing. The last possibility here that I'm going to share with you, you can become a social media influencer. Because you're a subject matter expert, you are specialized in the financial service industry or the business consultancy industry, you can be a social media influencer. But the information that you have, the body of knowledge that you have. And I just had to emphasize those points to reinforce that there is benefits in applying the MVO, the minimum or most viable offer, to your MVTM, your minimum or most viable target market. There's no excuse for you not to, because again, you're choking yourself. You're choking the oxygen out of your body. When as a rising star, you don't have adequate human resources, you don't have adequate, technical resources, you don't have adequate capital resources to move 5 and 10 projects simultaneously. Focus on the right one. With data, you can select one that can become a major money maker. Because that's why you're in business. You want to cash flow optimize. So I want to talk now about the benefits of applying the MVO, the benefits of mastering your minimum viable offer. What are the benefits here? What are some of the benefits to master your minimum viable offer? It helps accelerate the speed to market entry. Yes, it accelerates the speed to market entry because you have one product. You have one MVO, one minimum viable offer. So you're able to put the human resources here, your technical resources here, and your capital resources here. And you can apply yourself with greater ease because you have one focus here. So instead of you taking money to produce 5 different types of ads, commercial productions, to build visibility, reach, and impact, you put that money into one. So you spend less money to achieve greater visibility, reach, and impact, and client conversion, cash flow optimization, building confidence, trust, and credibility in the eyes of your consumers. You're able to enter the market, accelerate the speed of market entry. So think about all this and take notes on everything that we have gone through. Listen back to this program several times to ensure that you're getting the information. What are some other benefits? You're able to enhance accuracy in demographic targeting, in targeting your ideal client. Can you imagine that you have 4 different projects, 5 different projects, and you have to do market research? You have to collect demographic data, psychographic data, geographic data on all of these demographic segments. Information can cross pollinate in a negative way, and it takes away the accuracy of collecting, analyzing, and leveraging the data. It's going to be more cost effective. It's going to demand more human resources, technical resources, and capital resources to do that. So when you're able to take your limited resources and apply it to research, it helps you to increase and enhance accuracy in targeting the ideal client. And this is something that this is a major advantage. Thinking about the fact that many rising stars in business, you don't know who is your target market. You don't know the size of your target market. You don't know how to access your target market. You don't know if your target market, has the ability and willingness to pay. You don't know if your MVO is reaching an urgent and immediate need. You don't know all of this. So now that you're focusing on the one, you can now focus your energy to collect this type of information that's going to help you to make better business decisions, because you now have data. You can make informed and educated business decisions, and that's what you want to do in the nature of business. That's what's going to help you to win. That's what's going to increase the success rate of your business. To be able to apply the MVO based on everything that we have talked about, they have other benefits. It will reduce human and technical resource needs, because you're not focusing on 10 different projects, because the need to build a real estate portfolio is different than the need to build a supermarket. You have to research different demographic needs to ensure that you're building or developing in alignment with those specific needs. Because if the alignment doesn't take place, you can hurt yourself. You can be building the building in the wrong community, where there is, issues in those communities. We call them economic obsolescence. But you didn't take the time to do the research to see if there's economic obsolescence. So you build and recognize that it's impossible to get persons to utilize your building, because you have built in an area where there is a challenge. But you don't know that. That matter to you. So it hurts you in more ways than one, causing you sleepless nights. So the 1 in 10 factor gives you this type of advantage. The 1 in 10 factor also reduces the need for capital. Because again, if you go with 4 projects at the same time, you need capital for all 4. If you go with the 1 in 10 factor of brand selection, you just need money, capital to invest in the one and drive the one to success, drive the one to the point where it is cash flow optimizing. And you're now able to take the excess liquidity and introduce new product area, new service area. And you can delegate those responsibility out, so you don't have to feel as though you're being stretched thin. So these are some of the benefits. There are the benefits. You're better able to cash flow your 1 in 10 value offer. You're better able because you have more information. You don't have split focus, split attention. You can focus on the one. And this is what you want as a rising star in business. You think big companies are not doing this? I'm working with big companies that have specializations. They might be dealing with multiple financial instruments. Yes, but guess what? The person that is talking to you about your preparedness to access capital is not the person that is talking to financial institutions to get you access to capital. They have desegregate data. They have desegregate responsibility in order to optimize results. They are mastering the 1 in 10 factors, specializations. So it's time that you start learning what a well-to-do and apply it to your business ideas. Now, as I emphasize again, the ability to apply your minimum viable offer has tremendous advantages for you. With the application of this concept, you're able now to leverage your profit, the excess liquidity, into launch of new MVOs. You can launch new MVOs now because you've driven the business to the point where it is giving you positive return. Positive returns. So your excess liquidity now can go into either expanding this vision in increasing your market shares or bringing in new products, new services, appointing the right team to drive that success story. These are some of the benefits when you learn, apply, and master the MVO. All right. When you learn, apply, and master your minimum viable offer. So, for rising star in business who might be going through your own challenges, you're not accessing adequate capital, I want you to pause and think about this because you can generate billions of dollars by doing the right one project. And we at Pitch Deck 101 LLC, we are here to give you that support. All right. We are here to give you that support. So reach out to us at pitchdeck-101.com and we'll be happy to book that consultation with you to diagnose where you are and then to give you the support to get where you need to go. Again, if you need access to capital, we're here to give you that support. So whether you're looking for debt, equity, credit, creative financing, we are here to give you that support. The beauty about working with us is that when you work with us, it's not only about you accessing capital. It's important for you to understand financial portfolio, but it's also important, equally important for you to understand how to access. It's equally important for you to understand how to leverage. And it's equally important for you to understand how to mitigate debt. Understanding the capital market ecosystem from this perspective is what's going to help you to win in business. Now, this is what I want to do for rising stars, those who have taken the time to listen to this presentation today. We have an offer for you. The first 10 persons to go to the website and get a copy of the book, because everything I've said to you here today, it's in that book, Master the Sales Communication Process. So I'm encouraging you to go to the website, get a copy of this book, Master the Sales Communication Process. The website is pitchdeck-101.com. Go to the website, get a copy of that book. And when you get a copy of that book, we will know. One of our team members will reach out to you and offer you a $500 gift card. And that gift card will give you an opportunity to become part of our mastermind, where we will help you to unlock a deeper understanding of the MVO, your minimum viable offer, and how to apply these concepts to your business. So I want to encourage you to take action now. The cost of this program is about $5,000. We're going to pay for the first month of this program for you. All right. So I'm encouraging you to take action now. Take action. The information will be transformational, and your business will be set to grow and expand and achieve the business objective. And you will not be a statistics when we look at those who are in business. 20% fail in the first year, 50% failing by year 5, and only 10% surviving after the 10-year life cycle. With the right information, you can take informed action to optimize the success of your business. So I trust that you would have enjoyed today's program. Master your minimum viable offer, your MVO, and master this, and you're set to be successful in your business. Be blessed, and I look forward to the next broadcast with you.